My name is Michelle. I am the social media manager for the Duncan Team Orlando, and with me today is Natasha, and interviewing her about what it was like to buy a new construction home. She bought a home and it was at the end of 2022, and we're now into 2023, so we want to hear all about the process now that she's gotten settled, now that you're enjoying your beautiful space. So let's learn a little bit about what it was like to go through that process.
Okay.
So when did you initially start the process of buying a home, building a home, all of that? What was your timeline?
Yeah, it was actually in 2021. So when we were considering new construction, this was like literally where we are in our section of the neighborhood was completely just dirt and grass and, some signs that basically said for sale. So it was the end of 2021. I think October was when we had the conversation, like right at the end of October. And then maybe November 3rd or something like that is when we actually signed our initial contract and went under contract officially on this house.
Who are done, moved in, and making the space your own. Obviously, it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
How's it been?
It's been great. So it was about a year from the time that we went under contract to the time that we actually moved in. So I mentioned we went under contract at the beginning of November 2021, and we closed on October 28th of 2022. So we've been here since October 28th, and 3.5 months now, give or take. And it's awesome. It's very surreal. It's super surreal. We didn't initially set out to go new construction when we started our, the process about talking about moving, but it really just ended up being the right move for us. And it was an incredible journey, and it's still the journey. I feel like I have so much more I want to do in the house, but still feeling pretty settled.
That's fantastic. So where is your home located?
We are in Winter Garden, and just like a lot of other cities in Central Florida, Winter Garden is huge. So we are not far from the Flamingo Crossings area on one of the sides of Walt Disney World. So.
Yeah, that's a great area to be. They just started building up a whole bunch of new breweries, restaurants, shopping. It's awesome down there. A lot of traffic though.
Actually that's one of the reasons why we chose this location was because where we lived before, we had to get onto the interstate and to I-4, basically to everywhere we wanted to go.
The I-4 parking lot.
Yes, the I-4 parking lot, exactly. You're familiar with it, I hear. We kind of wanted to move closer to my husband's family, which we are, literally we are, and just kind of away some of that traffic. But we're also still very, very close to like 429, which is a toll road, and we will pay the tolls all day long just to be able to like zip through the traffic and super convenient to get us wherever we need to go.
Absolutely. Now, this home is beautiful. I want to know, who was the builder of this home?
So it's MI Homes was the builder, and an absolutely wonderful process the entire time. I've had the opportunity to engage with a number of different builders, and truly the communication. One of my favorite things was you can download an app, and whether it's on your phone or your computer, and you get these fun little updates that it's like, your foundation was just laid or your windows are installed. And
wow.
So it just kind of keeps you, some people are in a position where they can physically drive to where their home is being built frequently to check on the progress. But you don't always get to see the behind the scenes stuff, like the pipes going underground and whatnot. So getting those updates on the app was super, super fun. But we also went through their lender, and that was just because of essentially the kickback's not the right word, but the contribution that we got from the lender by using them. It was a great process all around. It honestly was. I highly recommend, certainly in Central Florida, using MI Homes.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, talk to me about interest rates.
Do I have to? No.
I know. Full disclosure, Natasha and I are best friends.
Yes.
So I heard a lot about these interest rates and
yes, you did.
Oh, the woes.
You went on the roller coaster ride with us.
Yes,
so,
indeed.
Let me kind of preface by saying we upsized when we bought this home. So a lot of people tend to downsize, but for us, we just needed more space. This is Brewer. We just needed some more space. So we actually upsized. In fact, we doubled the size of our home. So I share that to say, not like, hey, look at us, we doubled the size of our home, but when the interest rates change and increase, depending on how much home you're buying and the cost of that home, that can potentially add on a significant amount of money, right, when the interest rates increase. So when we first went under contract, which was part of the appeal of buying at the home at the time, we knew it was very affordable for us since we were upsizing, is the interest rates, I believe, were about 3.4%.
Wow.
So maybe 3.3, 3.4.
Which is a great rate.
Which is incredible. I mean, to use the words that were the buzzwords at the time, historically low rates, but I mean, they really were. So
I think you mean unprecedented.
Yes, I'm sorry, unprecedented rates.
That word.
But they were. So, again, that was a huge, not just for us, I mean, that was a huge draw for tons of people, right, who decided to buy homes, a lot of first-time home buyers. And, we weren't any different in thinking it was very attractive and like, hey, now is the right time to make this happen. So that's exactly why we did it. But as I mentioned before, it was about a year process, almost a year process from the time we signed and went under contract to the time that we actually closed and moved in. So during that time, if you remember May in 2022, the rates just kind of went, and so did everybody along with that, everyone kind of freaked out. And, we were on a roller coaster ride. And, although I'm very familiar with the real estate business, it's different when it's your own home, right? So, our interest rate that we ended up with by the end of it, when all was said and done, was 5.375%. So not as high as it ended up creeping up at some point. I mean, at some point we were flirting with over 6%.
Yeah.
And also full disclosure, that led my husband and I to have many, I mean, you just said you're my best friend, so you kind of went on the ride with us, but many very serious conversations about, does this make sense for us to keep doing? Sure. Can we afford this? And if we can, do we want to, be paying this? So, again, no different than anyone else who was in that same position where the interest rates went from one thing to another when they were in that home buying, journey. Sure. But at the end of the day, we just, everything kind of lined up and we found a way to make it work. But going from, 3.4 to 2 points higher, essentially 2% higher, again, has a significant impact on your monthly payment.
Yes, still a jump. And that leads me into my next question, going along this roller coaster ride. What would have happened if you decided, like, hey, this is not right for my husband and I? Like, what would have happened?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that for us was, honestly, that's what kept us in the game, was what's going to happen. So with this particular builder, you had to put 20% down. And again, that was a significant amount of money that we had to put down. So we stood to lose, I won't disclose the number, but it wasn't $4,000 or $5,000.
It's a gut punch number.
Yeah. And that, we stood to lose our deposit, is the short answer to your question. In our case, it was a significant deposit, and we couldn't bring ourselves to walk away from that. Yeah. So, we did a lot of praying and, please keep your fingers crossed for us. And, and just, kind of hoping that it would work out. I mean, we were also smart about it and looked at our finances and so on, but, we would have lost our very significant deposit. And that's not uncommon with new construction is, that's part of the agreement that you're signing is, that builder is holding that lot and, for you with the plans to build on it for you. And that means that they can't sell it to somebody else. Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made that decision because there's been many memories made in this house already. Already. And
many more.
Yes, indeed. Now, speaking of lots, what were your lot fees? Because I know they can range widely. Like you can go from like what, 5,000 up to 100,000
or more. Yeah.
Or more, which is insane.
So it is insane. So depending on the builder, they kind of handle their lot fees differently. So the way MI Homes does it is essentially you pay your lot fee and then you pay obviously to build your home on it. So we actually ended up with the lowest lot fee that they allow in the community, which was $70,000. Yeah, well said. So it's $70,000 for the dirt that our house is built on. However, I will say we are extremely fortunate that when I glanced out the window earlier, it was because I was looking at the conservation and pond view that we have right from our living room window and our owner suite windows right upstairs. So.
And she did say pond view, and what lives in your pond? Welcome to Florida, everyone.
Chomp chomp, baby, alligator.
And what's his name? I think y'all named him, right?
I think my husband named him Henry.
Henry the gator.
Yes, there's also a lot of amazing birds and all sorts of other wildlife out there, but yes, Henry the gator lives outside. Okay, so you got more on the upper end of that lot fee. Yeah, it's not a small amount, that's for sure.
No.
But that gets rolled into your whole. Like our mortgage payment. Like we didn't have to pay like $70,000 in cash.
Sure.
It's all financed together with your home costs.
That's great. That's great. So next question. When you finally closed, because I know like when you want to get in the house, you're itching to get in. Did you have any delays in closing? What did that process look like for you?
So we did not. Is the short answer. So super fortunate with that. Again, our experience working with MI Homes truly was fantastic. The there's different. MI Homes is the builder, but there's essentially a project manager builder that's assigned to the home. So ours is a very capable, competent gentleman named James, and in fact, he always has the most homes on his plate in the community. This community has about 400 homes in it, single family homes, and yeah, so James was our actual builder and our main point of contact, but we also had our sales consultant, Maria, that was our point of contact. And we had no delays. I mean, in fact, they, you know, my husband and I were very honest with them about our journey and kind of hemming and hawing for a little while about, hey guys, we don't know if this is realistic for us. And they were definitely pulling for us the whole time. And yes, the builder wants to sell the house. However, you know, we developed a really good relationship with them. And I think, you know, on a personal level, they really were pulling for us. So they, you know, they knew that we were selling our other house, and it really just, the stars had to align and everything had to work out. And they, you know, James and his team hustled to make sure that we could move into our house when it was closing day.
Yeah, and you guys had a tight timeline between when you were selling your other house and then getting this house. It was like, what, a week that you like moved everything out and into here, or what was less than?
It was 24 hours.
That's right. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm being generous.
No. We closed on our previous home on October 27th, and we closed on this one on October 28th. So it was, tight turnaround. And not uncommon. I mean, some people close the same day. Like they close on one home in the morning and the other one in the afternoon. So.
I can't remember if we were out of town or what, but I do remember it just being a tight timeline. I guess I didn't remember it being that tight of a timeline.
Don't worry, you'll have your time.
Yep. Someday. Now, in your whole process, buying this brand new home, is it your first time ever buying a new home? First of all,
not buying a home in general. This is actually our third home, and it's our first time buying a new construction.
Home. Okay. So, on this learning journey, what would you have done differently?
I would have allowed myself a bigger window of time to sell my other home. Although for us in this particular instance, it kind of tied into what we were talking about earlier with the interest rates, and it truly was like a last minute kind of Hail Mary that we realized we were going to be able to purchase this home. So we kind of scrambled to get the other one sold. So that aside, because also we listed that house right before the Hurricane Ian hit. So my furry family member, sorry. But one of the things that in hindsight I probably would have done differently is with this builder, at least this community, we were able to go to a design center and like pick out everything from the paint color to the floor tile to the cabinets and you know, and so on and so forth, which is super fun. It can be a little overwhelming if you're not into that kind of stuff. Bless my husband, he did an amazing job. We were there for 6 hours and he was a champ the whole time.
Whoa.
I mean, you literally pick out everything.
Did you like go take him out for drinks afterwards?
We definitely grabbed a bite to eat and relax for, I don't think we had too long though, because we had to pick up our daughter from school. But at the design center, and different builders do things different ways. A lot of builders, kind of more entry-level home builders, tend to include upgrades like, you know, 42-inch cabinets and granite, and it's already standard. For us, we got to go, like I said, to the design center and pick everything out. So I think there was a little bit of like, I don't know what I don't know from a asking questions perspective. And I will say the person there did a wonderful job of guiding us through the process. But I may or may not have looked in some other pre-construction homes in my community before the folks got to move into them. And there's one actually just a few houses down where they have the same model home as us. And I saw that they had different like granite, different types of granite and different stone in each bathroom. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize I could do that. I thought I had to pick the same thing for like my kitchen and my bathroom. Now, I love what we chose, but I don't think I realized we had that level of flexibility. I thought it was just kind of like pick your stone for the entire house. So you know, would I have done it differently? I can't say for certain. I mean, maybe, but again, it's just kind of having that educational piece of knowing that you have these different options. Now, when you go to a design center, there's a lot and it's exciting, and you're also hearing like the slot machine sound in your head, like cha-ching, cha-ching, because it's all adding up. So you're mindful of that too. But I mean, if you have a limitless budget, go crazy. Or not. You know, we had fun there, but I think it's just learning what questions to ask, or just kind of asking everything and saying, you know, can I do this differently? Can I not do this differently? And so on.
Sure. Excellent. And that leads me to my next question. When you bought the home, were there any upgrades that you wanted the builders to do versus you're like, no, I can do this on my own?
So the example that pops to mind for me, and this is always like a funny thing to me, is you know, like the pull-out trash cans that are like in the counter. So So that was an option. Like we could have done the pull-out trash can. You know, if you look over, you see the trash can obviously sitting next to our kitchen island, and it's fine. You know, whatever. but we had the option to do the pull-out trash can, and we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. It was $700 to have the builder do it. Now, if you Google like pull-out trash cans, you can go to like Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. It's like $100, and it's not hard to do yourself. So we opted not to have the builder do like that type of thing. Something we did do was we opted for the upgraded kitchen package, and what that did was instead of like a push-in stove, this is a gas community, so it would have been like a push-in gas stove range unit. We opted to have like a double oven, but our range is actually like in the counter instead. So that's something that I feel like would have gotten extraordinarily expensive if we wanted to change to that later. And trying to do double ovens and so on and so forth. So to me, that was worth the package of the kitchen upgrade to have the builder do that. We did not opt for the blinds package or the window treatments package. Not the end of the world, but you know, once you're here for a few months and you realize that like, oh, people can see in my house from the street at night, you know, it was kind of one of those, should we have just gone with the blinds in hindsight, and then if we wanted to change them out later, we could. So we're now in the process of, you know, putting the window treatments on, but again, this kind of comes to the educational pieces. When you see all those dollar signs, they feel like they're adding up. So it's just picking and choosing, you know, what you did. So we're happy that we upgraded the tile. We're happy that we upgraded like the carpet padding from a 6-pound to an 8-pound because it absorbs noise better and those types of things.
Their carpet is amazing.
Thank you.
Let's kind of close.
I see what you did there.
Yes. What was your closing like? Was it easy? Walkthrough went splendidly? All the things worked out the way they should have?
Yeah, so we moved in on a Friday, and that Monday we essentially had like our our final walkthrough with our builder, James, that I mentioned earlier. And you know, there's nothing in the house yet, so you basically have kind of an undressed house ready for you just to look at it. And that is truly your opportunity to go through and say like, hey, there's a chip in the paint there, or like this cabinet door doesn't look like it's hung on straight, and you know, whatever. I mean, you're truly like eyeballing it for any of those last just things that they can get in and do freely before you're actually living in a home. So and every builder does that, so you know, that's not exclusive to MI Homes, but you know, he actually gave us the roll of green tape and we got to mark all the spots, you know, that we wanted touched up for painting. Nice. So and then fast forward to, we kind of did a rewalk the day before we moved in, that Thursday, and you know, James walked us through and said, here's all the stuff we talked about. Also, I will share that when we met on that Monday, there were some things that he knew he wouldn't be able to get done, let's say by Friday when we moved in, closed and moved in, simply because it might be like the cabinet company who installed the cabinets had to come and like put in the shelf that was missing or straighten up the door. And so full disclosure, he took notes and said, you know, these are the things that other people will be coming to do. These are the things that my team will make sure is done before you move in, which was helpful to know, again, as a first-time new construction buyer, because you're just like, everything's supposed to be done by the time I move in, but that's not the reality of it. And that's actually something that I just
That's good to know.
It is good to know.
I didn't know that.
Yep, that's, and I think there's kind of a, if you've never bought new construction before, I think there's this, I'm going to say misconception, just, you know, I'm going to call it for what it is, that like your house is going to be perfect. It's not. You know, and then it's going to be 100% like ready to go when you move in. That may not be the case. And that's again, that's just really important to know, because folks, your builders are building, they're building a lot of homes, and it's, you know, it's people doing the work, and we have to factor in human error. And it's not that people are like missing things on purpose. It's just that they're so busy and there's so much to do. It's natural, right? I mean, I miss things all the time, right? So it's like, oh, how do we go back and fix it? And that's all it is. So I think it's just kind of understanding that this is a process for them too, and kind of showing them grace, as well as, you know, and being patient with them, as well as knowing, I guess I should say, building a good relationship with your builder and the team that they work with. And by team, I mean your sales consultant and all those people, because you want to ensure as smooth a close as possible. And that's with the title company, that's with the lender, that's with, you know, your salesperson, that's with your project manager for the actual build. There's a lot of work that goes into building a home. So in our case, our closing was super smooth. I know they're not always like that, but you know, again, we just had a great team of people, and you got to stay on top of it yourself. Like, you have to take ownership as the buyer, and it's okay to reach out to people and say, hey, I haven't heard back about this. Like, I'm just following up, because at the end of the day, it's your money, it's your purchase, right? This is the biggest purchase that people ever make.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all of your insight with all things new build construction. And we look forward to seeing you in our next interview. Bye.
Bye.